Conus Atatu.
Ta'ahazaram.
And that's about the extent of my Irish.
Hello, we're starting this morning with some beautiful Irish words. Anirban just asked me, how am I feeling? Conus Atatu. And I said, Ta'ahazaram means I feel joyful.
Yes, thank you, Duolingo. And moving on to a language I actually do speak. So in Bengali, in Bangla, the word for joy is ananda. And it is a simple way of saying, you know, a feeling of lightness, of bliss, of delight. And actually, we'll talk about this in more detail later, but it can be used as a mantra for meditation.
Say that again, Annabelle. It's lovely.
It is. Ananda.
Ananda. Beautiful. Really nice. Quite similar in a way to Ahas. Ahas, Ananda, not miles apart.
Not a million miles.
No, exactly. So interestingly, you use the word bliss because I'm going to go straight into one of our coaching cards, which is I feel so brilliant. And we are working our way through these emotional flexibility cards. One of them is Grey Skies and one of them is So Brilliant. So Brilliant covers the positive emotions. And we are number 3 now of the positive emotions. And that's beginning with B, which is bliss. And I renamed joy as bliss because I think actually that joy has a PR problem.
Yeah.
A bit like happiness has a PR problem.
Yeah,
right?
It can turn people off.
It can. And also I think it can be very confusing where I think when you say, you know, I feel bliss, everyone really knows what that means. You know, that moment. And it is sometimes a fleeting moment.
Yeah, it can be.
And that's really what the emotion of joy is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as I'm saying this, just, you know, maybe you can describe what's happening to me.
Yeah, your arms are in the air, you're lifting yourself up almost.
It's like sunlight, a little dappled light. Yeah. It's like, you know, music that uplifts
something
you.
That literally, and the word uplift is great because it can sort of raise you, it can raise your spirits, it can bring you that uplift. To do a Brené Brown quote, joy is sudden, unexpected, short-lasting, and high intensity. It's characterized by a connection with others or with God, nature, or the universe.
Totally. And I love that you've brought in the universe or nature there. And there's a beautiful Irish word that I wanted to say today. It's called sklimperlacht.
Wow, sounds like a tongue twister.
It is actually a bit of a tongue twister. It actually means sparkling or dancing with joy.
Nice.
And it's from the most beautiful book by Manchán Mangan. And we've had this book in our home for quite a while. Our daughter loves it. It's called Three Dogs, Banshee Fingers and Other Irish Words for Nature. And actually just opening this book.
Yeah, visually it's beautiful, isn't it? It's really well illustrated and it's very engaging, even obviously for adults like us, not just children.
Well, I was just going to say, just opening this book would bring you joy.
Yes, you're right.
There's something about it. And I think that's why we always go back to our mother tongues here, you know, the Gaeilge for me and the Bangla for Anirban, because there's something very visceral about the feeling of joy. And we often talk about childhood joy, because I think it's something that you know, it just comes up in you, right? Like, I think that's unexpected, you know? And I think throughout the day, there are many, many joyful moments. What we need to get quite good at is noticing them.
Yes. A great example would be our old friends Pixar. They did a great movie called Soul. And in that movie, they depict that really well, where someone's trying to figure out what they call their spark. And what they bring it down to is the simple things. It's the simple moments that are noticed. It can be a leaf falling from a tree. It can be the taste of pizza. It can be, you know, listening to a busker on the subway. It was so well done.
Oh, the music notes, because it's about jazz, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And so, like, again, you know, when you think back on your childhood joys, you know, for me, I was either picking flowers, you know, down the back road, music, certain beats, or guitar. You know, there's certain things, the smell of like baking. Getting back to smell. It's very
yes.
visceral, I think, joy. If we were to bring in our five senses, we've got a lovely card as well called SENSE, and you can tune into your five senses.
Right.
And I think there's so much joy just in,
Well, it's about being in the present moment.
Yes.
Right? That's really what it's saying. It's being sort of mindfully aware and present.
And when you say that, Anirban, when you say that word mindful, so now I start to think about meditation.
Yeah.
And this was something that we realized when we got on this podcast this morning, that there is a whole other part to this, which goes very deep into the absolute bliss that you have from meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are not aware of this because they try too hard to meditate. It becomes this real negative thing. It becomes another chore. I can't do it. Ugh.
Yeah, we'll have to do a lot of myth busting about that because, people just have way too many preconceptions about what meditation is or should be, because you always have the traditional image of someone sitting in a lotus position, right? So we'll definitely go to that.
Yeah, there's that amazing book by Light Watkins called Bliss More. So we're going to do a part 2 for this emotion, joy. So it's going to be Bliss part 2.
Yeah, so definitely look out for that next week.
Now let's go on to, why joy is important. And when we cover all of our positive emotions, we go back to the same thing over and over. But it's very important to repeat this so we understand it. Joy, again, is a connecting emotion. It allows us to connect the dots. It expands our thinking and our attention, and it fills us with a sense of freedom. And back to Brené Brown, I love her quote where she says she thinks of it as the good mood of the soul. And again, your Pixar reference.
Yeah.
So there's something very very meaningful and soulful.
It's a deeper level. It's bordering on the spiritual here.
Absolutely. And it can be so fleeting, yet so deep.
Yeah, joy is a sign that things are going well or that we're doing something well. I mean, it's really confirming that we're on the right track.
I know. And I keep thinking about it in terms of light. When you have something that would light the way for you.
Like an emergency exit light.
Right. That's quite funny. But something that leads you.
A guiding light.
Yes. Yeah. What is that movie where they follow the lights? Oh, it's the Irish one, isn't it? Song of the Sea.
Right. I was actually thinking of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but go on. Yeah.
I just feel like it's a guiding light, joy. It's saying actually, if you can open up your heart and open up your awareness to where are those moments of joy, and everyone's going to have them in a different place, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess we want to talk about savoring here, that if you teach yourself, it's a psychology word, savoring, it just means enjoying the moment. That's right?
It, yeah.
And making the moment last and stretch and luxuriating in the moment. I'm thinking now of the Roisin Murphy song, The Time Is Now.
Oh, perfect.
Give up yourself unto the moment. Mm-hmm. I won't sing, I'm a terrible singer,
Please
but the time is now. It's like
the time is now.
And the dance music always does that for me. Like time stands still, Donna Summer, actually at Happy Place, we had the amazing Denise Van Outen play us out.
She did a great DJ
at
set.
The festival. Yeah. And again, it was a lot of 70s disco in there as well.
But with 90s dance beats.
Yeah, it was so.
She did it really well, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, and again, my hands are going up to the ceiling.
Yeah, you want to be dancing, yeah.
And you have that moment where, almost like you lose the sense of time because you're just in the moment.
Yeah. Well.
Of ecstasy.
Yes. That really is a moment of flow.
Yeah, we're back to Miguel Cheek Sent Me High.
That's the one.
And the flow state. You're in your zone.
Yeah, we mentioned that one in a previous podcast.
Yeah, so dancing, of course, is an activity where you could go into flow state. And I do remember from my positive psychology training that there is definitely a link between joy and the flow state.
Absolutely. Now, if dance music isn't your cuppa, then we have a nice practice that is called cuppa, and it's one of our cards, and basically it is about spending a mindful moment with your cuppa of choice, and it's holding the cuppa in your hand, giving it your attention, and using your senses to savor that particular moment.
Yeah, I mean, the smell of coffee. And now I'm thinking of that movie, Amelie. From,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The French movie, yeah.
2001, I think. Yes. And, you know, she is the creme brulee and she's got the crunch of the sugar on the top of the creme brulee.
Yeah, super close up on it, right?
And she does all these little beautiful, joyful things for her neighbors. And it's all about, you know, kind of little savoring little joys and in the beautiful setting of Paris, of course.
Being in the moment. Gonna have to watch that again.
And joy isn't just a feeling that is nice. I think that's really important, you know? People say, well, what's joy going to do for me? In a big whoop, you know? Who cares, right? And that's where we were, you know, maybe 20, 30 years ago about positive emotions. Well, so what? They're fleeting, they pass, you know, nothing lasts forever, that kind of thing. But joy can go very deep because it broadens and builds those connections, like I said before. Connects the dots, it makes you more creative.
Yeah.
And also it can have a deep impact on our everyday lives. There's an amazing book by John Kabat-Zinn and his wife Mila called Everyday Blessings. And it's literally what we were talking about seeing that, you know, everyday joy in a very challenging role, which is parenting.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are always looking for instruction in parenting because there's so different types of parenting that you can
different styles, different methods, techniques.
Exactly. And there's been trends that go up and down and fade away. And this is my go-to book that I always recommend to people because it's not a how-to manual at all. It will not sleep train your child. It will not stop your child from having tantrums. It'll do none of that. But what it will do is bring you into the present moment and you will actually start to see that everything that happens between you and your child is a blessing, is a joy.
Exactly. And I totally buy into this because it's pretty much what I do on a daily basis because I'm in the morning time, at least I'm the person who wakes up first. I'm the lead parent, so to speak. So I wake up before everyone in the house. I normally get in my meditation practice before I wake up our daughter. And to get her out of bed now, she's 10 years old. So she doesn't want to get out of bed half the time. She's like, oh, she's still sleepy. But I have to kind of cajole her out of bed. And I do that with, you know, to me, it's joy. With joy, I do it with simple things. I use some of her soft toys. She still loves her soft toys. She's at that age.
Teddy shower, anyone?
Yeah, she loves a teddy shower. But
you should explain what a teddy shower is.
A teddy shower is basically grabbing a bunch of teddies and showering them over the person who needs to get up. So it's not a bad way to wake up.
It is.
So yeah, and I actually use one of her little soft toys to wake her up. I channel a little character. He is a little 6-inch capuchin monkey soft toy, and his name is Caramel Latte.
Or Mr. Latte, yes. Sometimes.
And he actively gets Nivani out of bed. He sort of gives her a tickle, he gives her a cuddle, whatever. But that works. It is such a great moment to wake her up with that. So I get her out. You cannot
stop smiling the whole time you're recounting this. This is parenting joy right here in front of me.
It's a pleasure to do it. I love seeing a little reaction when she does it. And then she gets out of bed and then, you know, it's breakfast and I'll make her breakfast. And I like making a breakfast. I genuinely do. Sometimes it's hard work because I can be tired sometimes too. But, you know, like this morning, I made her some pancakes.
Oh, you do the avocado toast on her bread?
Oh, yeah, avocado and toast. And she's quite particular with the, you know, ripeness of avocados. You know, she's already a connoisseur.
She's like the man from Del Monte, isn't she? With her ripeness.
She has serious
anyone in our age
quality
bracket.
Control. Yeah, man.
But what's so cool what you're talking about to me is that here is what could be considered the parenting grind, okay? It's not easy, you know, to be present for a child or children and take them through all the steps that gets them from, you know, the wake up to the school gate, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what's really important is when you can actually light up joy in the moment, in the pleasure, like the pleasure of eating a delicious breakfast together. You know, that's really going to change the vibe.
It's a beautiful thing. Now, it's not to say we don't have our moments because, you know, to actually get her out the door on time is still hard work. But then I walk her to school and that's another great time. It's another great moment, just having the chats on the way on that 10-minute walk to school.
And of course, you know, she has now learned to kind of rely on you for, emotional input because you're present on that school walk. And so what comes up there, Anirban?
Oh, it can be anything. It can be, we've got that substitute teacher today. We don't like that person or whatever. Or it could be, looking forward to an activity or drama or whatever it is. She tells me everything. So it's a great moment of bonding.
And she'd be sharing her feelings with you.
Totally.
Here as well.
Yeah. It can be friendship issues. It can be teacher issues. Anything goes.
And I'm just looking down at the cover of that book I just recommended, Everyday Blessing, The Inner Work of Mindful Parenting. And we'll put it in the notes. And I noticed that Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, he's actually done a little reference on the front of it. And it says, at last, an emotionally intelligent guide for parents. And I guess that's what we're talking about. And I was also thinking about emotion coaching by the Gottmans themselves, the husband and wife.
Yeah. Yes. So if you're not familiar with them, they are a couple. They're quite elderly now, I guess, but they've been doing couples counseling for like dozens and dozens of years. They
have the Love Lab over in Seattle in America.
That's the one.
But again, emotion coaching. So just these are resources that can help you, because Anirban hasn't gone from, we talked about it before, he was in the corporate world. He never saw his daughter, he was traveling, all that kind of thing. And so, he's kind of made decisions that he would be here, more.
That was it.
And the joy of parenting is the feeling that he wanted to share today most. And I honestly feel now that he could talk about this for hours.
Yeah. Oh, there's way more to it, but yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question now. Do you ever talk about the joy of parenting to other dads?
I guess the answer is no.
Honestly, when was the last time you talked to somebody else?
It would have been months ago now, with regard to parenting.
Because I was thinking about that really funny show on TV, Motherland.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant.
And there's the token dad in there.
Oh, he's like the stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, and like I always feel that like dad joy, it always kind of is laughed at a bit still.
They made him a bit of a, almost like a wimpy character.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Now, I think the show is really funny and actually interesting. It's actually shot in Ealing, so we can really relate to it. But it's almost too close to bones.
Yeah, very close to home. Yeah, but the problem here with that character is that, I take real pride and I like to celebrate the fact that I enjoy being a dad and being present for our daughter. But there's so few role models in our culture that represent that as being a cool thing, as being an okay thing. Like I said, they represent him as being a bit of a simpering wimp.
Yeah, no, it is. He's not. It's not a positive. I feel like
he's definitely not cool.
He's taking the piss out of. And I think that's where we talk about men and emotions and men emotionally evolving. Mm-hmm. So here's a chance. And I know it's a comedy and it's hilarious. So, and I mean, God, I love Sharon Horgan. I mean, Bad Sisters just blew me away. And
so good, yeah.
She's amazing writer. And she's on the button with so much of this. And there probably are dads like this. But, and she can't be responsible for changing the stereotypes either, one female writer. But as you say, when men are emotional, it's taken the piss out of.
And when we talked about before, men can't feel, won't feel, and they're in that sort of mode, we're afraid that if we do put in that emotional labor and be seen to be in that frame, then we're perceived as being this sort of that type of character.
Yeah, like a loser, basically.
Yeah. No one wants to be that.
A laughing stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, a send up.
So yeah, that definitely needs some PR work.
I do. And I love that you've come on here today to say, okay, what is my greatest joy? And you were like, hands down, it's parenting our 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah, and I unapologetically feel happy and alive and elated and pure pleasure from being an emotionally present dad to our daughter. It's as simple as that.
That's brilliant, Anirban. I'm so glad that you can share that today. And also the final note on parenting, it makes me think of our practice called 3 Yays. And this is something I actually do with Nirvani as a parent. And you kind of look back into your day and recall 3 things that felt all right, yippee, or yay today. And it's such a beautiful practice. And really it's all about joy. And what's so cool about this is the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So when you start to notice the sweet stuff, as we say, notice those little tiny sprinkles of joy throughout your day, then the next day they're easier to find, and the next day. And they've done amazing research on this. It's based on Martin Seligman's 3 Good Things research. Yep. And we can put that in the notes. And if you do this for 1 week, 7 days consecutively, it can have an impact that lasts up to 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And that's because joy is an action emotion. It'll have an impact on everything. It'll make you more creative. It'll make you more motivated. It'll make you want to learn more.
Yeah, and it increases your confidence. Once you tap into joy, you will also increase your confidence in the world. And it's completely the opposite of being cynical, being joyful.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
And, when you said about action, I was thinking of activism. And we watched that amazing masterclass of Gloria Steinem, redefining feminism, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
And it had Adrienne Marie Brown, and she's kind of got quite famous for pleasure activism. Now, I must confess, I haven't read this book, but she did talk very eloquently about it to Gloria Steinem on the masterclass. And this is actually really cool because for me, a lot of the ideas on activism, it's very negative. It's the anger, it's the rage, it's all those.
Yeah, it's the protest.
Yeah, so you kind of feel like, marching, and it's so heavy and weighty. And obviously, there's a lot of injustice in the world, as we talked about. Go back to anger if you want to get into female rage and the patriarchy. However, I loved her take on the whole thing, that we should need to recognize that pleasure is a measure of freedom, that you should notice what makes you feel good and what you're curious about. And really that this is not a waste of time, that really we need to decrease any internal or projected shame or scarcity thinking that's around pleasure. And I'm going to actually quote her now because I thought this was really powerful.
Yeah.
She says, part of the reason so few of us have a healthy relationship with pleasure is because a small minority of our species hoards the excess of resources, creating a false scarcity and then trying to sell us joy, to sell it back to ourselves. Some think it belongs to them, that it is their inheritance. Some think it is a sign of their worth, their superiority. I just thought that was so powerful.
Yeah, and this actually made me think of the Don Draper character from the series Mad Men, the advertising exec. And, he had a great bit where he was trying to explain why things sell. And he was essentially saying, you've got to almost give people something to feel bad about to then experience the joy of whatever it is you're selling.
Yes, happiness is a new car, I think it was happiness is something new.
I think his one was happiness was the packet of cigarettes. No?
Right, or whatever. But it's something new. It's something that has to be bought. And this is what we're saying. Actually, pleasure is like your birthright. Pleasure is inside you. Joy is inside you. You don't need to buy anything. If you turn off this podcast now and sit there, you can feel joy. And we haven't touched on this because it's not our area of expertise, but there is the whole idea of sexual joy and orgasms. And she really goes into this. She's amazing. Yeah. Check her out. We'll definitely put her in the notes.
Yeah. And that's the song Feeling Myself by Nicki Minaj and Beyonce, right?
Absolutely. 100%. So that's something you can get busy with yourselves.
So really what you should be asking yourself is, what sparks joy for you?
Yeah, it's very individual. It really is.
Absolutely.
It's, what sparks joy for me will be different than Anirban. What sparks joy for our daughter will be different than all of us. And if you do the 3 Yays practice, you will notice that it's different for everybody in your family, and that's okay. When you said the words spark joy, Do you know what came to my mind is Marie Kondo.
Oh, of course, the tidy up lady.
Amazing book, basically, that you would kind of clear out your home and declutter based on the idea that when you pick up an item in your house, does it spark joy? And if it doesn't spark joy, it doesn't have a place in your home.
Yeah, let it go. I think it's a Netflix show as well, right?
Oh, yeah, it's been quite revolutionary. Like, again, this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but quite interesting again to, kind of figure out what is it that sparks joy.
Yeah, why keep it in your home if it doesn't?
Yeah, and I guess it's quite anti-consumerist that. And then you also have the minimalists who've become quite big. They also have a Netflix.
Yeah.
So again, we can go either way with this. It can be things or it can be not things. We're not judging anyone.
No,
we're
that's
just
their
saying,
thing.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to explore, and they went down that route sort of wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. I mean, I really know that I'm not a minimalist. I'm probably a maximalist.
Yes, that is true. And if you ever saw Mary Ellen or met her in real life, or even came to visit our apartment, then you would definitely see we are not minimalists. When it comes to the dressing, I think the word is a dopamine dresser.
Yeah, I think I've been dopamine dressing since about 1990.
Yeah, before dopamine dressing was even a thing, right?
Yeah, it's funny when you go back to the positive coping strategy you have. I think I've always enjoyed fashion. I dressed up in my mum's clothes really young, and I always had that creative outlet.
Yeah.
So, I just loved wearing color and was always drawn to color. And again, this is another way that this brings you joy. It's not, we don't have to make people feel bad. You can be feminist and still be interested in your look and appearance.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. And this can be a cultural thing too. I mean, in our culture, the Indian community, bright clothes is just a totally normal thing, And
I remember you saying to me, Anirban, I met Anirban when he was in the height of his corporate career, and it was all kind of navy and grey. But what was really nice for you coming away from that part of your life was then to go back into, a younger self, teenager and uni, where you were saying you just loved bright colors.
Yeah. I mean, my wardrobe was my favorite tops are like, bright orange and super bright colors. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're like the dopamine dressed couple. And remember the guy at school came up to us recently and basically said, I hadn't met this dad at school, but he said, "Oh, I see you guys, on the school runs all the time from a distance, and you brighten up my day. Yeah. You bring me joy."
Yeah. And he said, "You guys are unashamedly colourful."
So that could be your thing, fun fashion could be something that sparks joy in you. And personally for me, I also love looking at what other people are wearing. So I'm a huge people watcher. It's why ultimately I love living in London, and lockdown really impacted my joy. So you have the little, moments, exchanges of love when you're chatting to people, but also you have the visuals. So obviously I'm a complete coffee addict and I love going to the coffee shop to drink coffee. But I think part of it is also because I get to sit there, in the Broadway and watch everybody go by. And I'm just, that stimulation, I get ideas. I see how people put stuff together. And, we live in this, London is so amazing.
Yeah, you get to observe all walks of life, all different fashion senses.
Very multicultural, very diverse, how people style it. And I just, that can really be a game changer for me, is walking into the busy area and sitting having a coffee. That can really spark joy. Other people's fashion, particularly if I'm not having a great on day myself.
Yeah, so to go back to the Soul movie by Disney Pixar, there's a great quote where he says, life is full of possibilities. You just need to know where to look. And to me, that's really about looking after yourself. It's about finding your own personal moments of joy. I know.
And sometimes people say this is selfish. You could be listening and say, I have no time for moments of joy. But, again, another great book by The Joy of Being Selfish. What's the author's name?
Michelle Elman.
Yes. So, this is really important. And we've talked about this before in relation to anger. It's not selfish to actually put yourself
No.
first
Yeah.
for little moments of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't have to take up hours and hours and hours or cost a lot of money. You know, I was talking to another mum friend recently, and we were saying that, well-being and health doesn't have to cost the earth. It doesn't have to be based on wealth.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that's joyful is free.
Absolutely. You just got to find those moments.
And there's a lovely Irish phrase I was thinking of. It's cur to fein or deuce. And that actually translates as put yourself first.
So if you're really struggling with finding joy and finding the time for yourself to find these moments of joy, then we have a great practice for that. It's one of our cards again. It's simply called music. And it's finding a piece of music that matches your mood. And obviously, if you want to find some joy, you find one of those happy tracks, and there's plenty of them.
Yeah, and as you say, joy and music, straight away, I'm thinking of Joy Crooks.
Oh yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah, like this kind of like neo soul, just really beautiful. She's half Bangladeshi, half Irish.
Yeah, she's an East Londoner.
Yeah, really great mix. Though she lived over here in West London for a while, actually, in Ladbroke Grove.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, but just again, I mean, really deep and meaningful and just beautiful.
Well, I'm off now to find my own food joy. I'm off to Greg's to get a donut.
Oh my God, my husband and food, it never changed. He's a true Bengali. Slán go fóill.
See you next time.